My name is Jacob, and my teammates and I have formed gravity-assisted particle separation systems. We're a group of first-year engineers that have created a team driven to protect our water. I want you to take a look at this image. This is Kelowna, a beautiful city, no doubt, and the water is a huge contribution to that. But for those of you who live here, or are at least familiar with the Okanagan lifestyle, you know that it is more than just about beauty. The water supports life, it drives our economy, and it ultimately brings people together. But this reality is slipping away. With increasing infrastructure, more and more contaminated stormwater runoff is making its way into our sacred lakes. If we don't intervene now, our lakes could be forever changed for the worse. I'd like to hand it over to Rudy to further explain.
So how did we get here? Naturally, stormwater from rainfall should soak into the ground where it joins aquifers. However, due to urbanization, the landscape of our cities has changed, and the introduction of impervious surfaces like concrete and asphalt have made it so that stormwater now flows through our streets where it collects contaminants before entering catchment basins and ultimately converging to central water bodies such as the Okanagan Lake in Kelowna, BC. Now, hydrocarbons are a pretty obvious contaminant. However, sediment is often overlooked. Sediment is problematic for two main reasons. Firstly, sediment increases the cloudiness or turbidity of the water. This is bad for photosynthetic species which depend on sunlight to produce food, and thereby any other species which depend on them. Secondly, sediment acts as a transporter for other contaminants such as biochemicals and heavy metals that have a tendency to bind onto them. Moreover, the lack of data regarding stormwater contamination makes informed decision-making currently impossible. If we continue to let this problem run without intervention, we will see declining appeal of our beautiful BC water bodies, increased human contact with contaminants in recreational lakes, and degrading aquatic ecosystems. Ultimately, taxpayer funding will be required for cleanup efforts. We present to you our solution, GAPSS, a simple product that slides seamlessly into existing catchment basins. GAPSS performs three main functions. Firstly, it directly removes hydrocarbons from stormwater. Secondly, it directly removes sediment from stormwater and thereby is able to remove any sediment-mobilized contaminants. Thirdly, it records real-time data regarding turbidity and water flow rate through built-in sensors. Now we'd like to show you a demonstration. On the right-hand side, you can see the control. This is our current infrastructure without GAPSS installed. On the left-hand side, you have a version with GAPSS installed. We poured the same high turbidity water through both cases, and let's take a look at the results. This is the water that flowed out of our control without GAPSS installed. And this is the water that flowed with GAPSS installed. A remarkable difference indeed. As social entrepreneurs, we strive to do the best for our society. And through GAPSS, we'll be able to deliver 50 to 80% cleaner water into our central water bodies. We'll be able to remove the contaminants as early as possible in the cycle. Because sediment transports other contaminants, removing sediment as early as possible has a compound effect. GAPSS is affordable, which means it's accessible for all municipalities, not just the big ones. Therefore, we'll be able to maintain our pristine water bodies province-wide that drive our tourism-driven economy. The data we collect through GAPSS will lead to new stormwater management insights, and it will support critical environmental research. Our solution is unique. Firstly, it's simple. There's no moving parts, very easy installation, and most importantly, it can be retrofitted into existing city infrastructure. GAPSS is affordable at only 10% the cost of our competitors, while still being effective as it removes 80% of sediment and up to 90% of hydrocarbons. We have synced the GAPSS maintenance cycle with the existing maintenance cycle for catchment basins, which brings the marginal cost for maintenance down to only $5 per unit. GAPSS is scalable. It requires no infrastructure modification and can be deployed flexibly. You don't need to put one in every drain, just the high volume ones. GAPSS is also data-driven, and it's able to produce valuable real-time data sets where in a market there is none currently. I'd like to hand it over to Cole now.
In 2013, Kelowna's annual budget for stormwater management was $85 million. In 2020, BC's budget for environmental protection was $250 million. Our solution is a one-time investment at a fraction of this annual budget. Our business model revolves around two main pillars, the first of which being direct sales. Initially, this will be towards private clients, such as golf courses and resorts, looking to maintain their pristine water bodies. We will move into municipalities eventually. The second pillar is data packages. These are subscription-based and will be sold annually. The data packages will go towards research groups, environmentalist groups, and government agencies, those who currently lack access to this vital data. Our competition consists of hydrodynamic separators, porous pavement, and storm drain filters. Hydrodynamic separators, such as the storm scepter shown on the right here, are expensive and extremely disruptive to install. Porous pavement also requires a modification of existing infrastructure, making it infeasible to implement in a city system. Storm drain filters have a tendency to overflow and have a limited capacity. Our solution does not have a limiting capacity and does not require the modification of existing infrastructure. We have validated our eco-friendliness through life cycle analysis. We have also completed prototyping and SOLIDWORKS modeling to ensure the optimization of our design. In the near future, we will simultaneously conduct laboratory testing and build our software infrastructure. After which, we will pilot a 25-unit network, hopefully in Kelowna. In January of 2021, we will enter negotiations for selected municipalities. In the first year, our attention will be focused towards product development. This means we will continue to prototype and build our software web application. In year 2, we will move into private sales. We will begin manufacturing as we secure smaller clients. We will also begin negotiation with municipalities during this period. In year 3, when we have 2 private and 2 medium-sized clients, we will have a final optimized product. The medium-sized clients will consist of small municipalities such as Vernon or Lake Country, and we will use economies of scale to bring down our manufacturing costs. I'd like to now hand it over to Jacob to talk about our team.
So here we have our dream team. On the left, you can see is our current team. And on the right, we're showing that we, in the future, decided to implement a board of advisors. This board would include experts in various fields that would help us maximize our impact. Thank you very much for your attention. And now we'd like to open this time up to any questions.
Great, thank you, Team GAPSS. And we will now have 10 minutes for the judges to ask any questions of Team GAPSS.
I'll jump in to begin with, if you like. So the business case and the benefits are quite clear, well set out. I think just in terms of the functionality of the unit and how it works, it would be great to hear a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I can speak to this topic for you. So we really address 2 types of contaminants principally. One is hydrocarbons. And what happens is our system consists of a hollow column, which allows water to flow through it, but water is maintained at a certain level. And we have hydrocarbon absorbent pads, which are placed at the water line. And through density, hydrocarbons rise to the top, which allow them to be absorbed without restricting any flow of water. Secondly, we promote sedimentation of any contaminants within the water by altering the fluid flow through the system. In that way, we don't actually present a membrane that filters out certain things, which would be constrictive of water flow. Instead, we just change the way in which it flows by slowing it down in such a way that it promotes sedimentation, which gets rid of the sediments before the water has an opportunity to rise back up and exit through the effluent pipe.
Very good. Thanks, Rudy.
Thank you.
So that's Marilyn, can I get a clarification then? I think I misunderstood from your materials. There is no pad that's in there that you have to then remove and maintain and throw away.
Yes, so there is a component which requires maintenance, and those are the hydrocarbon absorbent pads, except they're not laid horizontally against the flow of water such that they filter it out. Rather, they're laid vertically. So if you have the water line at this level, it absorbs hydrocarbons through the side, which allows us to not restrict any water flow. But they do require maintenance, which has been synced to be once a year, meaning that we can reduce the marginal cost of maintenance to only $5 because the trucks and the labor has to already be there once a year to clean out sediment from the catchment basins.
So what happens to the pads?
So the pads are especially engineered to basically neutralize the hydrocarbons that are absorbed such that they're easily disposable after the fact.
It's combined with a chemical or a brand name that is called oil sponge. And when added to the pads, it breaks them back down to their organic components, so they're easier to safely dispose.
Oh, so they break down in landfills or something like that?
Yeah, after being exposed to this second product, they're able to be thrown out.
Okay.
Good. And the second part, which is the sediment piece, that's due to what, a flow restriction or reduction in flow velocity, which causes settlement to occur?
So what we've used is we used baffles.
Okay.
So as it comes down the main chute of the product, it has the outsides are made of a non-permeable membrane. In this case, we're currently looking at sheet metal. We might move towards environmentally safe bioplastic. And so then there's baffles inside that are laid horizontally on an angle across, and they're staggered. So it's going to slow down, it slows down the water flow, because in our studies to figure out how we could best promote sedimentation, there was two things, and that is the longer the water is able to sit and slowing down the initial velocity of water. So by slowing it down with the baffles and really forcing it to the bottom, there's a lot less chance of that actually escaping back out to the effluent pipe.
What's the cost of the unit itself? So would the capital cost be a hindrance in municipalities adopting this?
Well, each unit itself costs around $200 to manufacture. That includes the sensors and the transportation labor costs, manufacturing everything. So when we're looking at different municipalities, when we're looking at Kelowna, for example, they have around 9,000 storm drains. We estimate there to be about 2,000 of these drains in downtown Kelowna in the most affected area. Now, if we then implement these products into the most strategic of these drains, say 1,000, we'd look at a total implementation cost of around $200,000 for all of them.
Excellent. And the manufacturing is done where?
We're looking at manufacturers in Kelowna, but we have talked to manufacturers in Vancouver as well.
And you mentioned you have a prototype already. So how close are you to having a product that will be commercially viable and available?
We require a few months of work, definitely, to build out the software infrastructure. But we also have SolidWorks models that are ready to be submitted for manufacturing.
So in terms of our market readiness, we really want to dedicate the first year, the better part of the first year, towards research and development, just while we optimize our product. You know, all the work that we've been able to do has been under the constraint of being at home and doing the best that we can there. But we are developing contacts at the University of British Columbia in Okanagan to get laboratory testing. And there we want to basically create a control sample, and we want to do proper scientific testing to generate statistical significance and optimize our product in laboratory. And then, as our timeline suggests, in about October, we want to go ahead and move towards field testing with a 25-unit pilot in Kelowna. Dependent on the success of that pilot, we could be market ready much sooner, and we can go to market earlier. However, one thing that I think is to be said is that municipal clients are great because they have so many catchment basins in need of our product. However, with municipal clients, you suffer from a long sales cycle. That's why you see a larger amount of our profits kicking in year 3, even though we would begin market readiness at the beginning of year 2. It just happens that the sales cycle is so long that we wouldn't see any money later on. But that's why we have the private clients that we will pitch to and we will sell to in year 2 to give us cash flow to sustain operations until that profitability has time to prevail.
Rudy, can you expand a little on that? So have you reached out to private sector clients and sort of assess the market opportunity there? And would the product need to be adapted accordingly?
So we have not spoken to I guess you could say private businesses per se. What we've been working with mostly has been water experts, so aquatic biologists and city engineers. We're really working on the product right now. And where we find the market being is actually in resorts and golf courses. Private enterprises which have water bodies and they need to maintain for their operations. And this is a way by which they could implement something one time, and that could happen in the background. It's to say they could reduce cleanup costs that would be activated once in a while, and we could take care of the problem from the underlying root cause, which is sediment and contaminants building up over time. So we provide that offer to them. So in terms of the sell, that is the sell to private clients, is if they need to maintain those water bodies for their businesses, we can offer that. And we're looking to reach out to them as soon as we're back in Kelowna to make those business partnerships happen.
So the question, just kind of adding on to Mike's question, is have you talked to a number of resorts and a number of golf courses, and do they like something like this, or you haven't talked to them yet?
No, so we haven't approached private businesses yet. We have spoken to municipal agents, so people who work for the city, who have expressed great interest, but we have not yet spoken to private businesses, and that's something we want to do as soon as possible.
Hey, I've got a question regarding the data platform that you're building. So you mentioned that your deployments would be something around 100, 200, 300 units. So I guess there's a lot of data that's going to be transferred back and forth. Do you have a software platform that you're developing right now and what's its status?
Yes, absolutely. So I started a software development company and ran it for 2 years. So we definitely have a software-based backbone to build a product like this off of. In terms of the model that we're going for, we're going to have a little sensor system, a sensor unit that's installed in only a select number of drains. We really don't need to be in every single drain to capture a statistically significant data set. We can do that from being in, let's say, every third drain. So we're able to bring down the cost of the sensors there while still getting a lot of valuable data. And what we're going to do with this data is it's going to be stored in real time, and it can be transmitted, let's say, once a day or once an hour. We can optimize those frequencies by running some models when we have the time to determine that. And it's going to communicate with a central server, which will then compile the results across a city. So let's say you're in the city of Kelowna, it will maybe generate a nice grid by which you can see the status of the water flow throughout your city, and you can see the turbidity of the water entering, and you can also monitor the flow rate of water going in. And also, we are looking into developing sensors that would tell you, for example, just like you have printer, when you check your printer cartridges for the toner level, it would give you similar statistics. We want to really abstract the data part of it and keep it very user friendly so that they can monitor the status of their network very, very easily. And furthermore, we think that the cloud part of the business with data collection has a lot of value because the real-time data sets can be associated and correlated with one precipitation events to see how the amount of water flow and the turbidity changes as a direct result of a certain precipitation events, let's say a 5-year storm or a 10-year storm and so forth. And it can also be associated with geography. So we can figure out, okay, if you have 5 different units in this configuration, this part of the city, in the highest rainfall that you had this year, none of them ever reached capacity. So we can develop new insights as to how to advise stormwater management as well. So that's the state there.
Interesting. And what's your level of maturity regarding the software platform? Do you have an MVP somewhere, and what does it do?
We have about 20 seconds left, Rudy.
Okay.
Sorry, how many seconds?
20 seconds.
So in terms of the MVP, where we're right now is we have the sensors in place, so we know what sensors we want. And building it out, we just need to build for the MVP a chain that connects to a central server, which is something that we've done multiple times in previous ventures, but that is something to be done this summer now.